Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reltio 2021.3 release overview today. My name is Kyle Kramer-Dove, the Product Operations Manager here at Reltio. I'll be hosting today's session for you. The content of today's session will be delivered by Venki Subramanian. He is our VP of Product Management and User Experience. We also have all of our product managers on board and ready to answer any questions throughout today's session. So let's go ahead and kick off. Before we begin, I wanted to let everyone know that today's session is being recorded. It will be accessible to all of our participants afterwards. Everyone is in listen-only mode. As the presentation goes through today, please don't hesitate to ask any questions using the Q&A button in the bottom of your Zoom panel. The product managers are available and will be answering those questions as we go through the presentation. In accordance with Safe Harbor, I'd like to review that the content of today's presentation is for informational purposes only. It's not a commitment to deliver, nor should it be included in any contract or purchasing decisions. Here at Reltio, we believe in a disruption-free release cadence. That cadence involves 3 major releases per year. They occur in February, June, and October. We also do weekly releases, which consist of any urgent issues, critical bugs, or blockers. Now I'd like to hand it over to Venki to tell you all the exciting features and enhancements that we'll be delivering with this release.
Thank you, Kyle. I'll take it from here. So we're going to talk today about our October release, the 21.3 release, as Kyle just mentioned. Before we get into the release details, just a quick refresher for all of you. What is Reltio Connected Data Platform and what is the high-level architecture of our platform? So Reltio Connected Data Platform is a collection of all the capabilities that we offer to you as customers to manage your single source of truth data, to collect data from multiple sources to create that single trusted data source that can then power business operations, real-time operations, analytics use cases downstream. We run this as a cloud-native multi-tenant SaaS platform. We consider security and compliance as a first-class citizen and continue to invest in various compliance capabilities and certifications. On top of this, we enable you to model your multi-domain profiles, manage that profile using Entity 360 capability to create that single universal view of that data, the holistic view of the data, including all the attributes, interactions, transactions, manage this in a compliant way using governance capabilities, and also manage not just the entities, but also relationships, hierarchies, and graphs. We allow consumption through various mechanisms with the APIs as a primary mechanism, multiple connectors as options that we provide for integrations. Our user interface, which continues to focus on configurators, business stewards, and data stewards and business users alike, as well as connectivity to analytics and data science applications. And on this platform, we create packaged configurations that we offer as products like Identity 360, Customer 360, or Enterprise 360. When we talk about the release, you will see that our functionalities that we talk about, the new enhanced capabilities we talk about, are organized in the same layers. So let's look at what is new and what is exciting in the upcoming release. 21.3 release contains several different enhancements across the different layers that we just saw in the connected data platform architecture. I'm really excited to announce a brand new capability we are introducing in this release called Reltio Integration Hub. As you can imagine, Reltio being at the center of a data ecosystem or as part of your data landscape, bringing data into Reltio, integrating Reltio to various application systems as a source or as a destination is extremely important. To simplify this whole process, we are introducing this low-code, no-code integration capability that is embedded as part of the Reltio platform. We'll talk about more details in the upcoming slides. We are also enhancing our built-in data loader capabilities with some user experience enhancements, as well as some new functionalities there to simplify onboarding data from files. We are also enhancing capabilities around our event streaming, which is one of the primary mechanisms with which our customers build integrations between Reltio and downstream systems for data consumption in near real time. Reltio has been investing in our user experience layer over the last several releases. You might remember that we launched our brand new search experience as a default search in the previous release. We're continuing down that path of investing and enhancing our user experience. So there are two additional user UIs or user interfaces that are going to be available to you in early access, subsequently will be made gently available, sources as well as activity log on the profile. We also have enhancements to the UI modeler, where we are enabling self-service configurations to import new UI configurations or export UI configurations, so you can control the different elements of Reltio UI in a self-service manner. In the core entity 360, we are continuing to invest in our platform performance and performance optimizations, as well as proactive monitoring. And staying with that theme, we are introducing suboptimal match rule alerts, which can automatically detect match rules that are performing suboptimally based on the data characteristics or based on the rule configuration, and can bypass that so that it does not negatively impact performance. We continue to enhance our graph search, which is in early access right now. On the security and compliance side, we have two important enhancements we've made to the platform. One is to enhance the authentication of client IDs and service accounts through JWT, JSON Web Tokens. And on the compliance side, we have made improvements to our right to erasure, right to delete capability that is used to support compliance standards like GDPR and CCPA. So this is a quick rundown of all the key highlights that you're going to see in the subsequent slides. Let's dive into the details. Let me start with Reltio Integration Hub. As I mentioned, this is a significant investment and enhancement we are making to the platform, introducing this new capability called Reltio Integration Hub, targeting citizen integrators or even business analysts with sufficient knowledge of their application systems and Reltio and the data models can now start building integrations. It is a no-code or low-code integration platform that we are embedding through a leader in the integration platform as a service space, Workato, that is available as part of the Reltio platform. It comes with thousands of connectors that you can use readily to various leading application systems and analytic systems out there for simple, easy, fast connectivity. It comes with simplified monitoring capabilities for administrators to monitor how the integration is configured and how it is operating. It also helps you consolidate the knowledge of integration in a single place instead of building point-to-point integration, where the knowledge about integration gets embedded too deep in the code and becomes difficult to manage. The important thing to remember is this comes embedded as part of the Reltio platform. So it comes to you at no additional cost with fair use limits and with the ability to purchase additional usage if needed, if your usage goes above those limits. So what does it enable you to do? It enables you to connect and transform data across all the different applications and Reltio, and opens up additional scenarios for integration orchestration. As I mentioned, it is a no-code integration platform, which means the ability to integrate Reltio with other systems becomes simpler and also become available to not just developers, but also citizen developers or business analysts. We are also going to deliver pre-built integrations as packaged up as recipes on top of this platform for various use cases. Comes with a very simple, intuitive user interface for an integration developer as well as for the administrator. And last but not least, all of this data is managed in a very secure way because your sensitive data is being integrated into Reltio through this capability. So end-to-end encryption, key rotation, masking, and all the other security capabilities that you would imagine or you would expect from this platform is built into it. We want to show you a quick demo of what this looks like. For that, I will invite Gaurav Gera, our Senior Product Manager who leads this area. So Gaurav, I'm going to run the demo. Over to you.
Thanks, Venki. Hi, everyone. Reltio Integration Hub is going to be a new offering available through the application menu so that it's readily available to all the users. Right. So as you can see on the left-hand side in the navigation bar, there are a bunch of tasks that you can perform, right? Like recipes and connected apps and libraries. You could also have a view on the dashboards as well. But our focus should be building out the assets, which includes the recipes as well as the connections to the various applications used by this recipe. Let's look at a sample recipe over here, wherein what we're trying to build in this recipe is replicate leads whenever they are created or updated in a Salesforce org into Reltio. So a recipe includes a trigger and an action. Trigger basically initiates that recipe, and then there are a bunch of tasks that you can perform. So in this case, we're going to create an organization, a contact, as well as a relationship between that org as well as a contact, which we get from the lead. Right. So this was a quick run through of the recipe, but let's dig into the details of what it consists of. So the first one is the trigger. So here, once you establish a connection to the Salesforce system, you can extract the details, the fields, right? And then once we check whether a lead is hot or not, we use the Reltio connector that is available on Reltio Integration Hub, map the fields from the previous step wherein we extracted the fields from Salesforce. So you can perform a lot of transformation, use the Reltio tenant fields or the attributes that you have created. So as for example, in this case, while building the crosswalk, we are concatenating the org as well as the lead ID, just to give you an example of a simple transformation, right? So similarly, we also create a contact. Again, all these entities, attributes are all extracted by the connector from the tenant that you have established the connection to. So all this is dynamic based on your configuration, right? And lastly, as you can see in this step, a relationship is created. So in one single step, what you are building out is a workflow of creating multiple objects onto Reltio, creating a relationship, and then also managing the transformations within it. In case you want to build out logic like if else or looping, you could do that and log those messages within Reltio or outside the system, right? Let's quickly start this recipe and see a quick demo of how this works. So on the Salesforce side, we'll open a lead and make an edit to this lead so that it gets replicated into Reltio. So in this case, what we're going to do is change the rating. We'll convert this lead as a hot lead and then see that recipe execution. So once you save, this initiates that recipe, and you can quickly come back to the dashboard or the recipe jobs, wherein you will see that at every 5 minutes, the job checks for that event or that trigger. And once that is found, it starts processing it, right? Once the event is processed, the data gets replicated, and let's see that information over here. Let's search for one of those records that got updated. So here you can see that relationship is created along with that org. If you go to the crosswalk, you'll see the crosswalk wherein the concatenation of the lead ID and the org can be seen. Similarly, if we go into the contact details, you will see the lead details as well, like the lead source as well as the lead status. Right? So let's come back to Reltio Integration Hub. Before that, we also see the crosswalk over here. So on the Reltio Integration Hub, there are a couple of cool capabilities that I want to point out. The first one is the dashboard. So here you can see the consumption of the tasks as well as the recipe jobs that are being executed on your Vocato account, right? You can monitor the number of connections as well as the applications to which your recipes are connected to. And if you want to drill down into the details of the jobs and find out what's happening, you can do that. The other capability that Vocato provides through Reltio Integration Hub is the number of pre-built recipes, right? So you could search recipe based on the applications as well as the custom connectors that are built by Vocato as well as the community in large, right? So this all benefits you building out recipes quick and fast, and reduces the overall time to market or time to value your integrations. Right, so that's the end of the demo. Back to you, Venki.
Thanks, Gaurav. So you see how it is easy for you to extend the integration capabilities and build your additional recipes and integrate additional systems. I want to mention that this is going to be in addition to all the other capabilities that Reltio already provides. We will continue to invest in our native integration capabilities through event streaming, through our APIs, and through the batch import-export interfaces. We will also continue to have our connectors that we support, like Salesforce, Dun & Bradstreet, data enrichment connectors like that, as well as connectors to other integration platforms like MuleSoft. So we want to make sure that you've got all the different options that are available to you as a company, and you can standardize on the integration platforms of your choice, but at the same time, leverage Integration Hub for simplifying integrations and bringing or onboarding new sources or connecting to new destinations in a very simple, easy way, so that your time to value with Reltio platform becomes shorter. So just a quick recap, then the main business benefits that we envision, foresee with this is to empowering more people to build integrations with Reltio, making it easy and simpler for onboarding and connecting to new systems. Rapid deployments, of course, shortening the time to deploy, time to build those kind of integrations with the low-code integrations that are made available. Faster time to value with all the pre-built connectors that are available and the wide variety of 1,000+ connectors that are available on the platform that you can readily leverage, as well as unlocking new use cases and innovation, because this now opens up ability for you to build data orchestration, data enrichment kind of integration flows on this platform in a simple and easy way. And that's something that Reltio will continue to evaluate and then start packaging up some of those recipes and offer them as template recipes through Integration Hub to all of you as well. So really exciting stuff. And just in terms of how and when you can get access to this, we are targeting this capability is available as part of the preview. So for interested customers, please reach out to your CSMs, let us know. We're not automatically enabling it on all tenants right now. October 13th, along with the GA, we will start a phased rollout. We're going to go through different phases so that we can onboard customers and handhold the early adopters through this process. So we can mutually learn from that experience and make sure that when we open it up for everybody, we are fully prepared. So look out for those communications from us or from your CSMs, or contact your CSMs if you want to try and get access to this now. Okay. Moving on to the next topic, again, staying with the theme of integrations and real-time consumption, another set of enhancements that we have made is on the data loader capability. You know that data loader is our file batch import capability that we offer through our console as well as through the APIs. Now with this release, we have the ability to map multiple columns into a single attribute, map additional source fields into the crosswalk, default update to partial update in the data loader tool, so that the most commonly seen scenario, of course, is you're updating existing data. So partial update seems to be the more logical, more easy choice for that. Additional options and improved filtering. So some of these things, again, we have a short demo for you. Gaurav once again will walk you through that. So let me just switch over to the demonstration here. Give me 1 second.
Thanks, Venki.
Yeah. Okay. Over to you.
Yeah. So to enhance the adoption for this capability, and we have heard a lot of feedback coming from customers, we have improved some of the user experience, and we will show that in this demo. So the first one is being able to map multiple column values to the same attribute. All right, so this was something that was missing earlier. We provide that now as part of the crosswalk as well. Now you can upload data from multiple sources. So you can map a source field as well. And along with that, if in case you have date values like the create date, update date, even the crosswalk end date that needs to be updated, which comes from your source system, you could do that as well, right? So apart from this, we have also made a few changes on the update preferences. So the partial update would be a default one. And then we have also added a few more options for the updates. For example, partial override for references, providing the attribute update dates, as well as certain other DCR related events as well. So once you load this data, we will see the results of how those data look like on Reltio system. So for example, let's search for one of the records. Over here, you can see how the first name has been appended with multiple values. So in case you have an array of values that need to be provided for a single attribute, you could do that now. As well as you can see that the crosswalk values have come from the file. So the crosswalk details like the dates have also come from on the file as well. So, hopefully this will enhance the capability as well as user adoption for the overall data loader and, add value to our customers. Thank you. Back to you, Venki.
Thank you. Thanks, Gaurav. So those enhancements should, again, make it easier for you to use the data loader tool, use it more widely, and onboard data from your files into Reltio in a simpler, easy way with those enhanced options. Another key area, another capability that we focus on from an integration perspective is our near real-time integrations that we offer by streaming events into the queue. We've enhanced the queue event streaming capability with a couple of different things. First and foremost is, the self-service user interface that you see in console has been enhanced to support some additional options. That additional options include full payload streaming. So now you can decide whether you want to just get the full payload itself. We are also adding an option to support Delta capability. So events would be in an activity log-like format, so you can listen to specific changes to an entity or a relationship in these particular events. So you can decide that the events contain only the payload for the attributes that changed, as well as the event contains information about the source name associated with that change. So this helps in downstream processing with filtering out the right information so that you can decide what information to flow down to your downstream systems. And with these, the streaming capabilities will become much more easy for you to use in their integration. And what it also allows you to do is to avoid making another second round trip back into Reltio to make another API call into Reltio to be able to retrieve those kind of information, whether it's the full entity or relationship data or the change detection or the delta detection that you would have to do as a separate process. So those processes, those simplification will not only make integration development easier, but also could help you optimize the performance by avoiding unnecessary API calls back into the system. Dimitri, I just want to ask you, so what will customers have to do to enable this feature before they can start using it? I believe Dimitri probably has some challenges coming off of mute. So it's fine. We'll continue on here. So because it's all enabled through these self-service capabilities, you have this functionalities enabled already. So please make sure that you read through the documentation, use the console UI, enable this capability on your own. And if you need support, of course, you can reach out to us and definitely encourage using the community to share some best practices and use cases where you're using event streaming capabilities in Reltio. There was also a recent webinar that Dimitri had done recently on the community, and those details are also available in the community events. I would also encourage you all to look at it, where Dimitri has gone into more details about event streaming capabilities and the typical use cases and scenarios. Okay, moving on. So let's look at another area of consumption, which is our user interface. There are a couple of functionalities, enhancements that we are introducing here that are going to be in early access. It will be available not in the preview, but only at the time of GA, which is on the 13th of October. And it will continue to be in early access for some time so that we can collect your feedback and make sure that we optimize the experience before we launch it or open it up for general availability for all. So the sources UI, which is where you will look at how source systems are feeding to different data and how it is getting consolidated and the operational values are getting calculated, has been replaced with this completely new experience, which obviously you can turn on from your settings. That it is a user level setting in the application where you can go in and enable the new view, and you will see this new user experience. The new user experience provides a few enhanced capabilities as well. You have the ability to view history right here. So on the top right, you see a second tab on this screen where you can switch to the history view right when you're looking at the source information. So you can understand how the data has changed, which source systems have fed that data and things like that. It also comes with simplified editing capabilities for OV values and things like that, personalized UIs based on business need, as well as one of the other key things that we have enhanced here based on feedback from customer is a constant color assignment, so that every source will have a persistent color. So you can correlate that on every screen, and every time you go into this, you don't have to figure out which source is represented by what color. So it makes that easier, simpler as well. Another new area of the user experience that has been enhanced in a similar way is the activity log. So there is again a reimagined user experience for activity log that comes with some advanced filters, easy scroll, color coded changes and things like that. So a number of key user enhancements that makes it easy for you to look at the activity log and understand the changes that has happened on a particular profile. So this is again at the profile level activity log, and will be available as in early access at the time of our GA release, which is the 13th of October. Another important enhancement that we are providing in the spirit of self-service and enabling self-service configurations is the ability for you to export UI configurations from your Reltio tenants and make changes, make modifications to them, so that you can change the settings or features or enhance the capabilities on the UI and re-import those configurations back into Reltio. Sushant, what can you tell the customers about why this is relevant and where this can be useful?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Venki. So when we are, when our customers are implementing Reltio and making continuous changes on the projects that are already live, they constantly need to make changes onto the UI configuration, based on business needs or end user feedback. Currently, the only way to do changes on UI configuration is to raise a support ticket, get the UI configuration JSON files, make the changes, then raise another support ticket, and for those files to be deployed. This results in delays and hampers faster development and quick testing or quick changes, right? Where you can quickly build and test something. To avoid this whole delay, what we have done, built as a self-service tool, which is import and export of UI configuration files. What customers or administrators or partners and consultants can do and simply go to UI Modeler, pick the UI configuration file for the UI they want to make a change to, download it, make a change. We recommend taking a copy, a backup, and then basically come back and import and replace the existing file simply within their dev tenant. Then if they're happy with the changes, they can follow the same process, import and replace and test, and then prod. There will be no need to reach out to Reltio support. And then now customers will be able to quickly make changes and deploy their changes themselves onto the UI configuration. So that's the basic value proposition of the feature. And this is one additional step in the direction of all the self-service tools we want to provide our customers.
Great. Yeah, so that makes sense, Sushant. So that means that if I want to add a new chart to the dashboard or make some changes in the layouts to the dashboard and those kind of things, this now provides an easy mechanism to do those kind of configuration changes. Correct?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. We can just download dashboard.json from the tool, make the changes, and upload and import and replace the older file. And, right. And the new dashboard, the new charts or the change charts will be take effect immediately.
Right. And when you do that import, there is also an ability for you to, do a diff between the old set of configurations and new ones. So visually you can look at what changes you're making. You can make sure that the correct changes are being made, and you can import that into the tenant. And like Sushant mentioned, the configurations take effect immediately. So we can dramatically shorten that development cycle and provide some of those capabilities to you, our customers, or your administrators, or even your partner consultants, to be able to configure Reltio's user experience for your needs. Thanks, Sushant. So moving on to the next set of functionalities in the Entity 360, I want to start with this first one, which is around suboptimal match tool alerts. What we have done here is, we've really focused on continuing with the theme of proactive monitoring to make sure that we offer you can get a consistent performance out of your system, irrespective of the data and the configurations that you have. Now we have introduced the ability to detect these suboptimal match rules that actually potentially could cause performance impact, may slow down your matching process. By detecting such issues, we are also able to bypass the suboptimal match rules so that your rest of the process can continue and you can re-trigger the matching if needed later. It provides reasons why a certain match rule has been detected as a suboptimal match rule. It could be because of some certain configurations. It could be because of the nature of data, where you've imported a set of data that has very similar characteristics that end up creating an inefficient comparison scheme between those records. So these are all the typical reasons. And when we provide this screen as part of our GA release in October, you will also see that it comes with certain recommendations on how to correct such suboptimal match rules. And if for any business reason, if you want the ability to re-enable these rules and continue with the processing while you're ready to accept the potential negative impact on the performance, there are those options provided as well. And we will continue to work with you and continue to support you on how to make sure that these configurations are set up in the right way. So the two things that I want to highlight, one will be there is the detection capability as well as an alerting, where you will receive those alerts. And there will be a screen within the Reltio console as part of match rule configuration, where you will be able to see those kind of match rules flagged and with the reasons and recommendations why it was detected this way and what are the possible steps and configuration changes you can make to rectify it. Okay. Graph search is another capability. As you all know, that we enable you to manage your relationships across multiple entities and create that entity graph within Reltio. Last June, we introduced the capability to perform advanced graph search, and this is still in early access. It will continue to be in early access. We thank everybody who has engaged with us in the early access program and given us valuable feedback. Based on that feedback, we have made some further enhancements to the graph search capability. We've added certain additional search capability itself in the graph search. We have also introduced the ability to export the graph search results from the UI directly. So at the end of the graphs, the search process where you are able to search across multiple entities with relationship attribute, whatever segment of customer of data that you identify, now you will have the ability to export that information out as well. We will continue to enhance our graph search capability as we go through the remaining early access program. Work with those customers, get the feedback, incorporate them so that we can get this ready for general availability. Moving on. There are two other functionalities that I want to touch upon from a security perspective, both very important. First one is enhanced authentication of client IDs and service account. And you can see on the slide here, and of course, all of these details that we are going through, we will have detailed documentation also published on our documentation portal. So I'll encourage you all to go review those documentation and make use of this. What it provides is a new method to authenticate client IDs using JWT, Java Web Tokens with a shared key, with the capability to sign authentication payload with a cryptographic signature. And overall, this enables you to have a more secure and robust authentication mechanisms. Nirmal is our Senior Product Manager for Security. Nirmal, can you explain why this is relevant and where should our customers leverage this capability?
Yeah, sure, Venki. Thanks, Venki. I also want to take this opportunity to do a quick recap of how we support the authentication of service accounts. So we have two ways in which we currently support this. One is using the client ID and client credentials that you are provided in exchange for access token, and you are also using the username and password as the password grant type flow. So I also want to call out that these flows that we currently support is already secured using HTTPS, that is, it's still using TSL encryption. But we also understand that some of your organizations who are very particular about security, driven by security architects or information security, wants the capability to use dynamic payloads for each authorization request. So this is where this new investment that we've made come in, where it enables you to have that additional safeguard to secure that authorization. And I'll reiterate that this doesn't mean that the existing method is unsecure, because our authorization service is OAuth's framework, and the flows that we currently support is one of the mostly used grant types and authorization flows in the industry today. But this is an additional option for you to consume if you find the need for that. With that, Venki, I'll request you to take over.
Yeah, no, that's great, Nirmal. And one question that I anticipate is, how can customers activate and use this if they have a need for it?
Yeah, so they would need to raise a support ticket. And the recommendation from our side would be to request for a new client ID to be used along with this new feature, so that the disruption to their existing code base is kept to a minimum.
Great. Yeah, and as I mentioned, you will find more details about this in our documentation. So feel free to browse that if this is of interest to you and you want this to be activated for taking advantage of this enhanced security feature. Please request that to our support, and we will make the configuration changes. And the recommendation is to always use it with a new client ID. I do see some questions coming in through Q&A panel. I saw somebody raise their hands. Please use the Q&A panel, post your questions. Our product managers are reviewing them and answering them. And whatever is not answered, we will pick that up at the end of the session in the Q&A. Okay. I want to keep us on track on time. So let's move on to the next one. The last feature that I want to talk about here is the enhancements we have made to right to erase, right to delete, or basically the what is also sometimes referred to as the GDPR delete task in Reltio. What this does, and even before I go into this functionality, just a quick reminder, when we all have this these kind of security or rather compliance standards that we need to comply to, like GDPR, CCP, and the various others. And the advantage that you have with Reltio is there is one repository which actually has the knowledge of all the data, all the sources that is feeding the data, and all the sources that are connected to this this data source. So when you have to be compliant to these kind of standards and for you to support the data service request for customers to download the data or to erase the data, Reltio becomes an ideal backbone of that process, where you can build your processes against Reltio to be compliant with these standards, because you have the full information about the data, all the sources. You also have the full audit log and history data of all how the data was collected and when, and all of those things. So that is why we continue to enhance and invest in this area, and we see our customers, many of our customers, leverage Reltio in this manner to be able to support these compliance standards. What we have enhanced here specifically is a stricter time frame within which these kind of data delete or erase requests can be executed. You have the option to set this time frame and say that in all these data requests can be or needs to be executed within a stipulated time, because these standards require you to provide a response to customers for their data service request or delete requests within a specific time frame. So you can incorporate those SLAs into this process in Reltio. So the stringent SLAs can be complied to. Prasad, I want to ask you the question about, how can customers enable this functionality and make, take advantage of this?
So this function is enabled by default. So there are a couple of ways we can raise the request for the right to be forgotten. First is the customers will flag certain entities to be deleted. And once the entities are deleted to be flagged, they execute what we call as an entity delete task. And then that will be executed by default within 10 days, as you mentioned. But customers have an option to contact our support. If they feel that 10 days is too long or too short, they can change it by raising a request. And that will be at the tenant level. But also, if the customer feels that they want to do it on demand, then every time they execute the entity delete API task, they can provide in a query parameter how many days they want this task to be executed. It could be 1 day, 30 days. So it's configurable.
Got it. So we made it simpler by making it as a parameter at the API level, but of course, it is also available as a default tenant-wide setting. So you can decide which one works best for your processes. If you have not looked at Reltio and how Reltio can help in the areas of these kind of standards compliances, definitely something for you to look at, for you to consider, because you are managing all this consolidated information in Reltio, so it becomes an ideal place to build these processes against. So I think with that, we cover most of the functionalities. There is one other exciting announcement that I want to make at this point. You are all aware of two key tenant level services that we offer. One is to clone a tenant, and the another one is to create an on-demand snapshot and a restore. You can see the definitions of each one of them. I don't have to necessarily go through them in detail here. A clone is essentially a copy of a tenant, including its data and configurations, including all the metadata and configurations into a second tenant. Usually clone is used as part of an ongoing development or testing process, which requires you to create a copy or a clone of your production into a test, or a test tenant into a separate test tenant or a dev tenant. Those are the typical areas where we will see these kind of operations being leveraged. A snapshot, on the other hand, is basically when you are performing some major operations. It's just as a protection mechanism before making a massive change. You can request Reltio to have a snapshot of that data preserved for a certain period of time. I want to make sure that this does not get confused with our Reltio standard DR capabilities and backup capabilities that we provide free of cost as part of the cloud platform itself. This is an on-demand operation that you can request if you are performing a major change where you might want the option to go back to a previous state. So between clones and snapshots, we are increasing the number of entitlements to make it really easy for you to use these as part of your development and testing process. You will have now the ability to request for one clone on demand or one snapshot and restore process on demand per month as part of your base subscription itself. And you also have the option to request additional clones or snapshots at a reduced price per operation. These prices will be effective 1st of October. You will get further communication from us, either from the product team or from our customer success team, in terms of these details and when it is effective. You will also see some updates on our entitlements page where you will see these details updated. But it's really important for us to just highlight that we continue to enhance some of these tenant level capabilities, the tenant services as we call, to simplify your development, testing, as well as ongoing tenant management processes. Okay, so before we move on to our, we have a poll question coming up shortly, but before that, I want to remind that, you're seeing this webinar probably registered through our community. I want to take this opportunity to thank all our customers for active participation and engagement in our community. We launched our community in April of this year, earlier this year. Within a very short time frame, we have seen quite a lot of registrations, quite a lot of very active participation from our customers and partners alike. So thank you all for that. You will see that today's webinar was also published there, and you will see the recordings there. Here is a quick snapshot of a few different events that are coming up shortly. You'll see, of course, that today's session is listed there as well. But we continue to have more and more product specific sessions, as well as bringing some of our customers and partners to also speak about the data management, master data, core data management kind of topics, data governance kind of topics in general. So this is a great platform for us to share information and to learn from each other. So just wanted to highlight this, and also thank you all for your active participation on the Reltio community. So with that, I'll hand it over to Kyle. We have a short poll coming up where we want to collect some feedback from you live while we have all your attention here. So Kyle, do you want to?
Thanks, Vicky. Hi, everyone. So what you've just seen has been months of strategy planning and execution from team members all across Reltio, and much of this also has to do with feedback supplied from our valued customers through our ideas portal. We would like to take a minute just to gather some additional feedback from you on what stood out to you about today's enhancements or new capabilities. So if you could just take a couple of seconds, I'm launching a poll. I will share the results of this poll as well. We'd just like to know, what new capability or enhancement are you most excited about?
We have 140 plus participants on the call live right now, and I'm seeing a lot of responses come through. This is great. Kyle will switch over to the results shortly, but I can already see the results where probably, I would say roughly about half of you are really excited about Reltio Integration Hub. So are we, so that's great. But all the other functionalities across the board are also seeing a lot of interest from all of you. So that's really good to know that, you know, we're targeting the right areas based on all your feedback and making sure that you get more value out of your Reltio investments.
Yes, let's give it about 5 more seconds and then we'll end the poll. So if you haven't yet, please drop your vote in there. All right, let's go ahead and end this poll and take a look at the results.
You have to click share results.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so as you can see here, 49%, that's pretty astounding. Thanks for the participation. We got 75% participation overall. Okay, and then as it relates to feedback, we really value feedback overall. As soon as this session ends, you're going to have the opportunity to complete a survey. We'd love to get your rating on the session overall. There's also an opportunity for some free-form feedback. And as further encouragement, since we got such a great response today in regards to Reltio Integration Hub, there's also a question in that form asking if you'd like to participate in the rollout of Reltio Integration Hub. So please fill out that survey. And if you are interested, just indicate your name and contact information. As the rollout of Reltio Integration Hub occurs, we'll identify those participants and reach out to you accordingly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can go to the final screen.
Yeah.
So again, this session was recorded. The recording, along with all of the Q&A, will be accessible to you afterwards.
Kyle,
as always.
Sorry to interrupt, Kyle, but I mean, before we end, I think I do see a few questions that were not answered, and we have still a couple of minutes that we can take. I see some of the questions are still being answered, but I just want to read out 1 or 2 of them just to make sure that, you know, we take the time to answer those questions as well. So there was one question about do we have a partial clone certain market data in a lower environment? Thomas, do you want to take that? I think you just answered it.
Yep, I've already answered it.
Yeah, but just for the audience, you want to just repeat or share what you just answered?
Yeah, we can really do that. That should be a custom request, and we can filter the data. And there was another question about how many free clones per year. It's 1 free entitlement on demand per year. It doesn't come to you automatically. You have to demand it via a Zendesk ticket, and then there's 1 per month, right. 1 clone and 1 snapshot per month.
It is on request only.
Yes. And then there was another question that I think Dimitri had answered, but I don't see that here anymore. The question was about, let me just check the.
It was about amount of data that can be cloned from production to test and dev. So
right.
dev has limitation of 200,000 profiles here, and I provided link to the documentation, and
right.
Test has the same entitlement.
Yeah, it really depends on the size of your tenant. If you're cloning to dev, it is typically capped at 200, and to dev, sorry, to production to test, it depends on the size of the test tenant that you got. It usually is equal to production.
And all of these details will be available to you in the documentation as well. So again, appreciate all the questions. There was one other question, Kyle, which I think you might want to answer. There was a question on where can audience find the recording of the session?
Yes, that was actually my closing statement. So thank you for that segue. The recording can be found in multiple places. We'll have a link to it in the document portal. We'll have it posted to our Reltio community, which I encourage you to visit if you haven't already. And then lastly, we will have it posted to the Reltio YouTube page.
Great. Thanks, Kyle. Any other closing remarks before we close the call?
That's it for me. And just to reiterate, please provide your feedback in that survey. And we thank you all for joining.
Thank you all for joining. Thanks for all the great questions that you asked. We will make sure that those questions also get incorporated in our documentation. Appreciate all your attention. Thank you.